Welcome back, everyone, to another One Piece chapter review. Today, I'm your host, Malik, and today we're breaking down the latest chapter from One Piece 1183, aka Good Mermaid, Good Day Mermaid, or Good Day Mermaid. One of those true translations, I'll put them up on the screen, and we're breaking down everything. We've got Brook Flashback coming, we've got more power scaling with Ragnir and a new Void Century character. But before we begin, please, for me, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It helps me out against the algorithm. I'm a new channel here, and any help goes a long way. But for now, let's get into it. All right, so the chapter starts off immediately with just this gorgeous color spread of all the Straw Hats. It's basically making a splash. You've got everybody there, basically with an elephant, aka Zunisha style, basically spraying water at them with all of them in the air, just having a good time. Because I'll be real with you, fam, this chapter basically is a lore heavy dump, so we're gonna need all the good times we can get out of it. All right, and so the chapter starts off with Imu basically continuing his battle with Loki, and Imu, in his 900 years old existence, is beginning to get nostalgic. He's beginning to remember the good old days with all his homies. Remember when he was first fought Loki in the beginning of this fight? He had a flashback of Joy Boy, and he screamed, "That's right, Joy Boy!" And he started screaming. And now he's talking to Ragnir. Yes, Ragnir, the mythical squirrel hammer. He tells Ragnir, "Thou hast waited all this time for one capable of bringing vengeance upon Mu. Is that not so, Ragnir?" And Ragnir basically gives him the business. This squirrel says, "Squeak, squeak, 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 squeak." Again, I'm going to keep saying it. We need to call up Kronk from the Emperor's New Groove. He speaks squirrel. He can translate this, but he'll basically tell him, like, yo, I can't repeat what he said, man. Fam, I cannot repeat what he just told you. All right, this is a kid manga. We can't say this shit, okay? And so, again, I just want to bring this up that Imu, a 900-year-old ruler, is basically beefing with a squirrel from the Void Century who remembers everything, okay? And then Loki's like, what is he rambling on about? What are you guys talking about? Think of it from Loki's perspective. You know Ragnir for about 14 years. You guys maybe telepathically communicate with him. I don't know how their communication works. But Ragnir basically is talking to Imu directly and giving him the business. And then Imu's rambling too. And so Loki's like, what the hell are you guys talking about? Just fight. What the hell is this shit? And then he's like, and Loki is panting. He's like, okay, I've never fought anybody as strong as this person. Remember, Loki is an ancient giant with Conqueror's Haki, with not one but two mythical zone powers. And he's like, okay, this is this is a lot more than I could have handled. I don't know what to say or do. We're kind of cooked here, fam. I don't know what to do. And so Loki's like, screw it. I'm just gonna hit you really, really hard and see what happens. All right. Loki comes to the conclusion, okay, I'm just gonna keep hitting you. Eventually you're gonna tire out. You have to have a limit, right? You're only human. Loki doesn't know that Imu is far from human. And so Imu goes on to say, Loki, Straw Hat, Luffy, neither one of you could be my subordinates, so Mu will erase you. We also learned Imu's use of first person and second person, third person pronouns. He uses Mu when he's referring to himself, and something called Nanoshi. I'll put it up on the screen, where he's effectively referring to other people. Again, this is something only he uses himself, because Imu essentially is the devil man. So yeah, that makes sense. And so he just basically goes up and he goes on to reveal another name, just like Dozan. Say it again. He's gonna erase them just like Dozan. Okay, listen, Imu, buddy, you keep dropping these names like they're supposed to mean something. Who the hell is Dozan? I don't even know. Like we have another Void Century name. Okay, we've got another person to roll with. We had Davy D. Jones. Now we have Dozan, whoever this is. Okay, and Dozan, what is this? Well, this kind of, in a weird way, links up to the Brook flashback in his music kingdom. Is Dozan is apparently a type of part used to tune up and basically an oud, basically an Arabic guitar. And so was Dozan a musician on Joy Boy's crew? Was he the previous user of the Needhog fruit? Unlikely, because Imu essentially refers to both Loki and Luffy by their respective powers, Nika and Needhog. So then again, he just called Loki by his name, so, and Luffy too. So maybe that was the previous user of the Elbaf war god, Needhog fruit. Maybe that was the name of it. We don't know. We still don't know. We're still trying to figure this out, exactly who the pieces are. But we have another name, Dozon, add it to the list. Emu is basically, imagine when he was first showing up back in 1179, he was basically referencing all the times up since Rox's first appearance, basically all the times pirates and other forces have undermined his world control, right? His perfect world, so to speak, which involves mass flood, but that's a whole other can of worms. And so then we see both Loki and Emo basically square up for another basically fuck off energy showdown, where Loki basically says, "Okay, I'm pantsing here. I got to keep just unloading the tank. Just keep spamming that shit. Just keep pressing A. I don't give a shit what happens. All right." And he basically says, "Ragnir, 2 Jin blades." And Emo basically wigs back his basically huge pole arm, knocking out a stick weapon, creates a black basically helicopter strike, and Loki summons a bolt of lightning, and then he says, "Ragnir 2 Jin helm." Helm meaning basically realm, essentially. So Ragnir, thunder, 2 Jin blades, realm. All right, and then Emu uses an attack, Sword of Wrath, Graham. Okay, now this gets into something involving German mythology. The Sword of Graham was used by a German hero, Siegfried, used to kill the dragon Fafnir, if I remember right. I'll put it up on the screen. It was used to kill that dragon. So fans also brought up how different theories. Oh, Loki's a German dragon. No, I thought Needhawk was something great. And this is probably Emu basically saying, yeah, I'm the hero in this story. I'm killing the mythical dragon that is you, Emu. You, Loki. And so we then cut away to the Western Village. All right, we just see this massive explosion and it just rips apart the skies. And then we cut it back to the Western Village. All right, and we see Zaza, the rain goddess, basically grab 2 more kids. All right, because remember in previous chapters, Zaza grabbed, I'm looking at it right here, we've grabbed Colin, Johanna, Olav, and Ylva. Now, Zaza also just grabbed Bent and Mag, okay? So that makes it 6 total children, all right? And then we see all the moms basically just gear up their shit, and remember, these people were heavily injured by all of Summer's thorns, and so they've just received treatment from Chopper, and so they're not at their best, and they're just trying to save them. We have to save the kids no matter what. We've been fighting like crazy just to get them back. We cannot lose this fight. We can't lose it. Literally, everything we've been through would have been for nothing. All right? And people have said, hey, if they take the kids, there's no way Elbaf is going to submit. I hate to break it to you, but the way Harold's kind of set up this system, the kids will be, the people of Elbaf value peace more, so they would probably just bend the knee to the world government and become their battle thralls, essentially. And so we just save them. And then you see, as they're running up to save the kids, we can't give up. Chopper shouts, wait, stop moving. You need more blood transfusions, all right? If you keep moving around like that with those bandages with not enough blood transfusions, you will die. And then Carl and Ripley, best giant mom so far outside of Ida, basically says, they're taking my boy, okay? I am not letting them hurt my kid, okay? And then Ripley has the hardcore line, my life doesn't mean any damn thing right now. I would rather die than let them take my child, okay? And so we see Zaza basically just pour on the rain and everybody, and then you see the kids shouting, help them, and we see a total of 7 kids. So remember, we had the 4, Colin, Johanna, Ylva, and I believe Olav, and then you have Bent and Mag, 6 kids. And so then Killingham says, all right, only 7 brats. Well, I guess that's going to have to do, let's get the hell out of here, all right? So remember, the whole plan, this whole operation, when they first came to Elbaf, was to kidnap the kids and use them as leverage to force them into service under the world government. Then obviously, basically Skywalker showed up, Loki and Luffy basically just ran roughshod over the Gods Knights, and now Emu is trying to salvage the operation. So now it's basically up to the Straw Hats to stop this, all right? And we've now up to 7 kids. Now, who the 7th kid is, I don't know. Maybe Bjorn. Maybe we can get some more, redemption for Road for being such a cringe creep who kidnaps humans and dresses them in little clothes and goons for Nami like she's a animated figurine like Oda himself, apparently. So there you go. Basically, Road's basically Oda in Viking giant form. Let's go with that, all right? And so then we see, before we cut away, we see Sanji rushing off to face Zaza, all right? And then he shouts, what the hell is going on? We see Sanji's face, all right? Now, Sanji's eyebrows are facing his normal direction. Until his eyebrows face the same way the rest of his Vinsmoke family does, he's not tapping into his Germa powers. He's not fighting at full strength. We saw this in Wano. We saw this in Egghead when he blocked Kizaru's kick. Until Sanji's eyebrows change directions, we're not really going to go all into what he can do. And so then now we cut away to the flashback that's about to happen. Yes, folks, we are getting a second flashback in this arc. Yes, I know. This one, we've had the Rocks and Herald, which was basically 18 chapters, basically 6 months. Half of 2025 was just taken over by Herald, Rocks, Loki's flashback, and everything that went on. And so now we're getting ready to get to Brook's story, okay? And, tangent aside, this was supposed to be Usopp's arc. This was supposed to be his moment to shine, his glorious moment. And so far, the only moment he's had in this arc is basically just rage baiting an 800-year-old ruler, basically telling him, you are a pussy punk bitch, you're trash, you're garbage, get out of here, you don't know nothing, all you do is just use dummy reversey and take people hostages like a coward. So that's all Usopp had going for him, all right? That's all he literally did. So that got me thinking, like, okay, so is Usopp going to have some kind of moment? Is he going to have awaken advanced observation of future side hockey? No, this is Brook's story now, because way back in the beginning of the parts of the arc, we learned Gunko was a huge fan of Brook Soul King music, so she was a groupie. Then apparently, Brook knew Gunko as Princess Shuri from long ago, because Brook was from the West Blue in a battle convoy, and there was some connection there that we weren't quite sure. All right? But we cut away, all right, to Gunko, who's still frozen in ice, okay? Now, this is very important. A couple chapters ago, Loki revealed that when Ragnir freezes somebody, all right, with Niflheim, that's it. You cannot unfreeze it, okay? You cannot unfreeze it. That is a sealed ice. Nothing can unfreeze it, okay? Ragnir wills it. That's it. You're frozen. Nobody but Ragnir can do it. And Imu, a few chapters ago, basically tried unloading an Omen Black Fire to undo the damage. Nope. Ragnir's ice still holds. So Ragnir upscale, folks. Ragnir is now on Admiral level. Yes, Ragnir's ice can basically hold people like Sakazuki hostage. I don't think Kizaru could unfreeze it. Kiji, freaking Fujitora. Yeah, if Imu's Black Omen flames could not burst through that ice, I don't think any fire-based ability would. So yeah, now again, we should have believed Loki. He had no reason to lie. So yeah, this just confirms that, yeah, Ragnir is basically Admiral level. Yeah, he can basically, Imu is the devil man. He is the ruler of the world. He's got insane Conqueror's hockey, and that can knock out even normal giants. And Ragnir's ice is still holding from one of his attacks. So yeah, Ragnir upscale, folks. That's it. Yeah, he's Admiral level. This talking squirrel is Admiral level. That is not a joke. That is fact. And so then we continue to the Straw Hats, who are with Brook. And then you've got Usopp basically saying, and so then they ask about Brook, what about this woman? Is there a reason you were so hell-bent at confronting her? And Usopp says, I only butted in because I could tell it was serious. I only went to help you because it was serious. And then Nami chimes in, do you know her? Is she an enemy from your past? And then Brook, who's on the ground next to Usopp, basically comments, well, you see, she's not an enemy, but she's definitely somebody I did not want to see again. All right? It's supposed to stay that way. Now I'm completely confused, because think about it from Brook's perspective. You're 90 years old. All right. This person, Princess Shuri, should be 77 years old. This doesn't make any sense. Okay. And so that is basically leading us to Brook essentially having an existential crisis essentially about what's real, what isn't, because you got to remember, for the average person, they don't know about Imu's covenant system. They don't know about the shallow sea, deep sea, and abyssal covenants. They don't know about the 3 levels. And so from Brook's perspective, he's just seeing all this demonic crazy shit happen, and now it's making him question everything that he knows that happened all those years ago. And then you see basically Brook say, hey, she should be 77 years old. And then Nami say, that's not possible. She can't be the same person. I mean, she's a Celestial Dragon. She's a member of the Gods Knights. We know this. And then, Usopp chimes in. He's like, yeah, but the last time I saw her, she was departing from Rijwa. She was a princess in my home kingdom. Okay, more Brook lore. And then you basically have Frank coming along saying, hey, she's still frozen. All right, I can't tell if she's still alive, but maybe that's for the best. Let's just forget about it and move on. And then, you know, you got Usopp chiming in, hey, couldn't she be a celestial dragon lookalike? None of this changes that she still tried to attack Elbath and kidnap children, and she tried to beat us senseless and tried to kill us several times. So from Usopp's perspective, it's like she can't just be a lookalike. Like this can't be some distant relative or something. Like, again, she tried to kill us and then she invaded Elbath. Like, what's going on here, Usopp? Like, Brook, what's going on? And then they're just like, and then you have Brook chiming in. He's like, well, yes, but she did all that. But here's the thing. She's the one who released those restraints. And we get a little flashback where they're all freed from Gunko's arrows. And then Usopp tries to take the credit saying, yeah, we're untied. I used my newly awakened psychic powers. Usopp just coping, man. He's just coping. This was supposed to be his arc, and he's getting nothing, all right? Brook is getting more character development in this arc, okay, than him. And then you have basically said, Brook come to the conclusion, why would she do that? And then you remember Gunko telling Brook to run, to leave. And then he said, like, it almost seemed like she recognized. And then Brook basically tries to, without saying it, explain like the differences between the covenant system. So he says, and then she turned into a devil. It's almost as like I've witnessed three different personalities. Her original personality, the personality that saved us, and that demon form. So this basically explains the covenant system. So they don't know about it, but when you enter in the deep sea and abyssal sea covenants, you basically have your entire mind warped. You become a more you think of yourself as a god, essentially. This is the way Harold described it. You basically become the worst possible version of yourself. And all that matters to you is filling out Emu's orders, okay? That's all that matters to you, okay? It changes your very thoughts, your very behaviors. You're no longer the same person anymore, all right? You may sound and act the same, but you're basically completely brainwashed. So when he was talking about her original personality, that is her most likely abyssal covenant, because Gunko does not age. Gunko, 38 years ago, looked exactly the same as she did 56 years ago when she was in Emu's room, and then she looks the same today. So that leads me to believe that she has the Abyssal Sea Covenant, because so far we've only seen Emu possess people like Saturn with the Abyssal Sea Covenant, okay? So that means she does not age, okay? So why was she given some kind of Abyssal Sea Covenant? I don't know. Why was she given the thing only the Gorosei seemingly have? Maybe Summers didn't get until recently. We don't know. But this is what the case is, okay? And then Brook continues. He's like, back then, I wouldn't have thought it's a possibility. But given all the crazy shit we've seen with devils turning around, people turning into literal demons, I can't help but feel like this is really confusing and making me question everything I know. Because imagine, you don't know about Emu, the covenant system, the devil, you don't know any of this. And then suddenly she sprouts wings, takes out a magic spell book, summons a shotgun, shoots somebody in the arm, turns them into a demon, and basically all of this starts to spread throughout Elbath. And then it basically becomes like, Brook's like, okay, wait, hold on a second. This is making me question everything that I know that is real. Like, this cannot be happening, okay? And then we got Jimmy chiming in. He's like, listen, I don't mean to be rude, okay, fam, but we are on a time crunch, okay? We need to know if you want her dead or not, okay? We can't move until we know for certain, okay? And then Brook basically goes down. And he's like, listen, Brook's like, I have to start a flashback, okay? And Oda Sensei just got us out of another one. Now we're back, okay? We're back. We have to go back again, all right? And Brook basically says, it was honestly so long ago. She was just a kid, and I was still so young, all right? There was once a kingdom that fell. It's no longer exists. It's a fallen kingdom called Esperia. It's a country where music flourished and instrument studies linked into the streets. And so that reminds me of this one island in the film Red movie where Uta was and where they tried to summon top musica. I'll put the name of it right here in the video, but it's like reminds me a little bit of that. And so then we cut away back to 70 years ago in the West Blue at 4 a.m. Remember, Brook gets up early, okay, and he loves to sing, all right? He just goes up, and then he starts singing his song. Waking up in the morning, it's a good mermaid. A new world's beginning. There are many seas out there, and I'd love to meet them all. Good mermaid. And then you see the people just basically being like, what the hell is he doing? Why is he singing? It's 4 a.m. I'm trying to rest up my hangover. What are you doing? Because, remember, Brook's crew, the Roman Pirates, OG crew did not like him because he would get up early in the morning and start singing. And you could just imagine you go to bed at like 11, 12 o'clock at night, and then you basically hear this dude singing at 4 a.m. Like I would legit want to slap this dude in the face, all right? And then he's shouting, "Good morning, Esperia." All right, waiting waves around the world, and you see people just telling him to stop. And then you see basically Gunko as a child, essentially, Princess Shuri, telling good morning, poor people, the arena, and smiling. And then Brook, as he's singing, he jumps in the air as the sun rises, doing the Nika pose, all right? And then we see this epic shot of the kingdom. This is the country of instrument makers, the Esperia kingdom, okay? Because if you don't know, a lot of the Strawhats are based off real-world countries. Luffy would be from Brazil. Zoro's obviously Japanese. Frankie is super American, all right? And Brook would be from Austria. And if you didn't know, there are a bunch of famous musicians, classically trained musicians from Austria. So this makes complete sense that Brook would obviously be from the One Piece equivalent of Austria, at least in the music sense. And so we see this play out. And then we see Brook just basically just dancing in the sky with the Nika dance in this as the sun's rising, which is a nice little callback. And the people are just saying, "Oh, it's Lord Brook, shut up, damn it." And then you see people cheering him because Brook is very popular. Okay, remember, we know Brook was leader of a battle convoy in the West Blue. Brook is 90 years old, so he's 20 years old right at the start of this flashback. All right. And then we continue. And then we see the barracks. And then you go over to the barracks, and then you see people saying, "Oh my God, it's Captain Brook. He's so cool. Please teach us how you do your swift slash." And they all praise him for saying, "Oh man, you're so adorable with Princess Shuri. You dote on her. How shameful. I've been teaching all, haven't you, haven't I? And you haven't mastered the basics." And he's like, "Dude, I'm not going to teach you my style until you learn the basics. There's no point. You're not up to my level. I'm not wasting my time." All right. And then you see that Brook walking with Princess Shuri. They're singing, "All righty, what's for dinner tonight?" And they're singing and they're having a good time. And we see this cutout of Brook. Essentially, look at him, and he's 20 years old. He doesn't even have the scar on his face that we saw during the flashback at Thriller Bark. This is Brook, 20 years old. All right. And then you see a shot of him next to here, Gunko. All right. He is the leader of the guard corps of Esperia. All right, Brook, 20 years old. And then you see his apprentice, the one he's been training, Princess Shuri, at 7 years old. All right. And so we now see this basically play out in real time. This is Brook's origin story, essentially. We're getting Brook's lore. And so we see Brook at the height of his powers, essentially. And then Brook begins to goon. All right. You see, and then because Shuri, Princess Shuri, asks, "Hey, Sensei, do you think I'm going to get stronger like my mom?" And then Brook basically goes full gooner mode with the hard eyes. "Oh my God, your mom is so amazing. Queen Condella, man. Oh man, I want to get in that so bad. All right. She's the light of my life." And then Shuri's like, "My mom is married, bro. Like, it's a bad look to thirst after a married woman. You don't want to cuck my dad, all right?" And then Brook's like, "What are you talking about? It's free to love. Love is always a hurricane. I can love whoever I want." And then you see the father of Princess Shuri, the king of the Esperia kingdom, King Luvan or King Ruban, depending on the translation, since R and L in Japanese can sometimes be read interchangeably. And then you see King Ruban, and then you see his hair and the way he's dressed, because King Ruban essentially is wearing a plain shirt with some pants and just some tight boots and a belt. And he doesn't look like a king. He really doesn't. And then you basically see him and then you basically just see him saying, "Oh, you want to sleep with my wife? Oh no, I'll execute you for treason." And then you see Brook saying, whoa, man, bro, you Aniki, big bro, you're way too harsh." And then in his way, I mean, your majesty, because Brook is using the word big bro, Aniki, as a very informal way of addressing the king, which means he's very tight with him. You also see the king's hair, which kind of looks like music notes that are chopped up. I don't entirely sure, but we see the king's attire. And then you see Shuri shout, "Daddy, I'm so happy to see you." All right. And then he tells him, "Are you trying to murder me? Are you trying to assassinate me?" And then Brook's like, No. I would never try to murder your majesty. I would never stoop that low. I would just simply wait for you to die your natural death. Then I would move in on your wife." And then he's just like, "Wait, what?" And then, because it's funny, because Brook has the revive fruit. Well, he will at some point, and he'll die and come back again, which makes me wonder, if you were executed eating and you had the revive fruit and you came back to life, are you off the hook for your crimes? I mean, I guess because you died. I mean, the questions for another day. I don't know how the One Piece legal system works. Plus, it doesn't matter what the laws are. The Gorosei and Emo could basically just say, pull the rug under you and say, screw you, you're dead, died twice over. All right. And then you've got this almost cringe, semi heart moment between Shuri, who basically says, hey, Brook, forget about sleeping with my mom. All right. Just give it up on her. All right. When I grow up big and sexy, how about I marry you instead? And then her father's like, wait, hold on. Wait, back up, baby girl. No. You're supposed to say that things to your daddy who you love. And then Brook's like, nah, I don't want some little girl. Sorry, I'm not into lollies. I don't want a little girl with a runny nose. And this is kind of messed up and also kind of weird because Gunko is chronologically 77 years old and Brook is 90. So, hey, if they want to get together now, I mean, there's nothing stopping them. But then again, Brook doesn't have any organs. So I don't know how he would kiss or do anything at all. He's a skeleton. But again, this is One Piece. So, hey, man, Oda finds a way to make it work, okay? And then you see the king. He's like, how dare you reject my daughter right in front of me? What was my daughter not good enough for you? And then Brook basically dodges it. He's like, I'm a one-woman kind of guy. I only goon for your wife. And then you got a soldier come in. And he's like, Your Majesty, I don't mean to interrupt this family time here, but there is something going on, okay? Riders from a gang are closing from the port side, all right? The corpus marine in that area are badly outnumbered, and the reinforcements were dispatched from the castle, but they probably won't make it in time. And the king asks, like, okay, who are these people? Are they pirates? What's going on? And then you find out some more One Piece lore. They're basically want the Queen Condell. She's currently in the Opera House, and who could it be? Is it the Moron family? Yes. Now, here's the thing. This is all taking part in the West Blue. And we know at least two gangsters from the West Blue, Capone Beji and Don Marlin. Now, when Beji rose to prominence, he murdered all of the previous heads in the West Blue, okay? He got so good at being a gangster, he basically just became a pirate just because he was bored. He'd already beaten the game, and he's like, all right, time to get a new game. So he became a pirate just for the sake of it, okay? And he basically murked all the other West Blue crime families. So now we're getting more West Blue crime families. All right, we're getting more of them. All right, we're getting the Moron family. All right, Moron. Yeah, that's Oda's pun right there. All right, and the king's like, they've been after the queen for ages. What is this? Why are they even land on our shores? All right, and they send a message out to the queen telling her that not to leave the opera house. All right, and then you've got the king saying, all right, all right, all snails in the opera house are on do not disturb. And then you says the king basically telling her, oh shit, what's going on? And you got Princess Shuri, Brook, please do something. All right, they're gonna take my mama away. And then Brook comes to the conclusion. She's like, wait, hold on, the Moron family. Hold on a second, fam. I met them at the harbor earlier today. And then you cut back to the beginning at the opera venue, and then you see the gang riders from the Moron family show up at the opera house, and you see Queen Condell. You don't see her full silhouette yet, full face, but she's sitting down praising the performance of the opera house. And then you got the gangsters of the Moron family telling her, hey, Queen Condell, come on out. Don Moron told us we can shoot if you refuse, all right? Today we settle it once and for all. I don't know what happened. Were these men gangsters beat up by the queen at one point because she used to be head of the army? Are they simply gooners? We don't know. Maybe both. But all these guys show up basically ready to throw hands and basically say, okay, queen, we're here to take you and just shoot you up at anybody that gets in our way. All right. And you'll finally learn to love our boss, Condell. And so, yeah, this basically believes that Condell was basically so good that she had actual mobsters simping for her in the past. Yes, I'm going to say it again. Queen Condell was such a baddie that she had literal mobsters from the West Blue. Remember, Capone and Don Marlin are from the West Blue. These are hardcore gangsters, and they were simping for her. All right? And then you see another gangster basically say, make sure the queen doesn't leave the theater, and you see them just start gunning down civilians, and the king is freaking out like, Brook, please, buddy, I need you, okay? And then the king, Brook's like, bro, calm down, bro. My royal big bro, come on, I got this. All right. Remember, our queen is strong. There's no way in hell they'll catch him. Anyways, it's a shame they didn't. And Brook comes to the conclusion. He's like, it's a shame that they didn't realize that when I ran into them at the port earlier, I already sliced them. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is Brook at the height of his powers, because what he does here is some just ruthless shit. He went in and sliced them earlier today, and they didn't even know it. And it took them this long for those wounds to catch up, and they immediately just fall apart, collapse outside. And then they say they were already cut down. And then you see all the civilians' reaction, and they're just like, wait, hold on a second. Don't tell me they've all been cut down by Brook's humming sword style. And it was a 3-pace hum sword, not slash. And they're all praising Brook. Lord Brook, you're amazing. You're so cool. All right. And then you see all the people saying, oh, that was Captain Brook's swift slash. And again, this is Brook at the height of his powers. I don't think we've seen Brook do this kind of stuff. All right. This is major Brook upscale, because Brook basically just slashed these guys so fast they didn't even know, and their wounds didn't even register until some time later, like 30 minutes to an hour later. Like, this is massive Brook upscale. And maybe Brook is weaker because he doesn't have any tendons or muscles in his arms, so he can't add extra force with his attacks. Because you don't really see this. This is like a scene in a fictional movie where some dudes are sword clashing and one guy gets cut, and they stand there for like 30 seconds and they're just like, and slowly slide off. That's what he did to every one of these guys, all right? And then we see the absolute baddie that is Queen Condell, looking like Urza Scarlet in this shot. And then it just says, all right, once there was a famous commander right here, and you see Queen Condell in all her glory, all right? She was the former royal commander of the Royal Guard Corps and the current queen of it, all right? Other than Brook, she was the most famous person in the entire kingdom right now, all right? And we see everybody just gooning for her, all right? And this was a kingdom at peace. This was Esperia at its peak, okay? And so then there's no break next week, end of chapter. And so I'm going to give my thoughts here, okay? So how long is this Brook flashback going to be? Kuma's flashback was 8 chapters, so I don't know if it's going to be that long, but I'm probably going to guess about 5 or 6 if we're really being honest, if we're being light here, because remember, we got Brook. We don't know when Brook became a member of the Romar Pirates, but he was stuck for 50 years. So then it would have made him 38 years, because 2 years were a time skip. And then so Brook is 20 years. 20. This is Brook 20. This is Brook when he's 20. So 18 years. So we don't know. I don't remember how long Brook was with the Romar Pirates, but I'm gonna say Brook is we're probably gonna be like 5 or 6 chapters here, because remember, this won't be like, the Harold, Rox, and Loki flashback where it was 18 chapters where we basically were following 3 different people on their respective arcs. No, we're just following Brook, and we're going to see some of the major elements that happen. Another thing that this kind of reminds me of is the story in Film Red, all right, where we see a girl, because Oda revealed that there is a demon, Light Talk Musica, in the One Piece manga right now. We haven't seen it. I'll put up on the screen the tweet that he said. But this basically reminds me of that. So how did Gunko end up in the Myanmar family? Okay, because she clearly wasn't. Now, my first thought is, okay, was Queen Condell a member of the Myanmar family, and did she go down to the lower realms and become the queen? We don't know. Okay, a second thing that comes to my mind is, why was Gunko given the Abyssal Sea Covenant? Because that's the level 3 one. That's the one where you don't age, because Saturn is 200 years old, and so the rest of the Gorosei are centuries old. And so that got me thinking, like, okay, how is this possible? How can these immortal knights essentially be around for so long? Why was Gunko given it? Because we've only seen Imo possess 2 people, Saturn, who almost certainly had the Abyssal Sea Covenant, and Gunko. Those people did not age over the course of the centuries. So how does this play out? I don't know. And so we basically see the start of this flashback. Another thing that comes to my mind is, okay, how is this going to relate to the Covenant system? Why it was done? I mentioned the music demon. I mentioned how maybe Queen Condell is from the Celestial Dragons. Maybe she came down to a lower realm, rejected her rank, and maybe they wanted her back. I don't know. Maybe Umu just wanted a girl with mismatched eyes. We don't know exactly what happened, but eventually she is going to end up in the Holy Land, and then her father's going to be murdered, allegedly by her, and then that happens, all right? So no break next week, all right? That's the end of the chapter, all right? I'm your boy, Malik, all right? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Really helps me out against the algorithm. I'm a small new channel. Any help goes away. Have a wonderful day.